Hello. I'm sorry I can't be at the showcase, but I wanted to just say briefly I chose to do a brief film about quilting because it is one of my most favorite activities. And another reason is I enjoy encouraging other people to do things that they like too. So I hope that you enjoy it and it'll make you think about something that you've wanted to do too. Everyone is familiar with using quilts to stay warm, relax with a book, or dress our beds. I would admit that you may be able to get a quilt like comforter from Walmart for a cheaper price than making one. However, the satisfaction of making one can be priceless. Let me tell you some of the reasons that originally got me interested in quilting and keep me interested. Originally, my mother taught me to sew simple garments. Then, decades later, I learned about a small, rural, poverty stricken Alabama community called G's Bend. Many people there have family members who were former slaves of the Petway plantation, and they still have that as their last name. African American women there had been hand quilting for generations, using old clothes and scraps. They would work together that as their last sewing pieces of fabric together by hand. Several books, videos, and an organization, Souls Grown Deep Foundation, was formed to market their work. According to the New York Times, these quilts are some of the most miraculous works of modern art America has produced. G's Ben quilts constitute a crucial chapter in the history of American art, and today these quilts are in the permanent collections of over 30 leading art museums. Several of the quilters were empowered to start their own Etsy sites and participate in other marketing activities. In 2006, the U.S. Postal Service issued a set of 10 first class stamps featuring G's Benz. Several designer outfits and even Michelle Obama's skirt at the National Portrait Gallery depict the G's Ben quilting style. This 2024 Black History Month, a Target Stores collaboration de- developed a line of G's Ben inspired items for their national stores. YouTube has been another dynamic source of inspiration for me. The next pictures of quilts are some of my quilting projects. I started quilting about 5 years ago with a lot of breaks. YouTube videos and advice from other quilters at guild meetings or at quilt stores are the next pictures of quilts are some of my quilting projects. I started quilting about 5 years ago with a lot of breaks. YouTube videos and advice from other quilters at guild meetings or at quilt stores are resources where I got my coaching. I learned sewing a straight stitch for quilting is easier than sewing a garment. Today, the most prominent YouTube quilter is Jenny Doan. Jenny started the Missouri Quilt Company in Hamilton, Missouri when she was 51. She energized the community of quilting with her use of pre cut fabrics, video tutorials, retreats, and online sales. Now, Hamilton, Missouri is referred to as the Disneyland for quilters. They have now over 450 employees and about 837,000 subscribers tune in to watch Dawn's weekly videos on YouTube and other platforms. Most quilters use cotton fabric that is now available in unlimited patterns and colors, as well as a broad range of price points. Most quilt fabric patterns and colors can promote cultural, regional, and ethnic pride. For example, there are Afrocentric, holidays, and patriotic inspired fabrics that are examples sought by quilting designs. This October 5th in Fort Myers, Florida, there was an organized traditional community activity called the airing of the quilts. Good morning to you, Kay, and that I am glad to be at this fabulous airing of the quilts. And I know that you and your shop are co-sponsors of this event. But before we get into that, I wanted you to tell me how you got involved with quilting.
Okay, well, I have always liked to sew. And when I was a little girl, my sister would have to take her naps, and my mother would sew because she made our clothes. So she would give me a piece of fabric, a needle and thread, and a button, and I would sew those on. And I was probably about 4 years old. And then she would each night cut that button off and give it to me with new thread to do again the next day. And I have just always loved a needle and thread, and here I am now. Before we opened our shop, we had a business in northern Michigan, and we rented canoes and kayaks, and those kayaks and those canoes were pretty heavy. And as we got older, it was more difficult for me to help carry those and load them. But you know what? I can carry a bolt of fabric for a long time. So it's my turn now. Scott got to do his canoes and kayaks. Now it's my turn to do the fabric. But he does work with me. And
where did you start the quilt shop?
We started that in 2017.
Okay, okay. All right, all right. So, what do you have coming up new?
Well, Scott does long arming at the shop, and we've got a new long arm coming in. He's getting one with a few more bells and whistles. It's, you know, you start out with a clunker car, and every time you just want to acquire one that does a few more things and goes a little faster. And so we're thinking probably in the next 2 weeks that should be arriving. So we're very, very excited about that. And then we are also going to be able to rent long arms for people to have time to do their own. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for your cooperation with this process. You have been wonderful.
Oh, thank you for it.
Thank you very much. Anton, you are standing by a very special quilt. Can you tell us about it, please?
Absolutely. It's over 100 years old. It was made by an 80-year-old woman, Allison Craig Harrison. It was made in San Diego, California. She used uh, pieces of fabric that she had in her home, which were literally from old clothes, whatever she had. She put them together. It is technically termed a crazy quilt.
Okay.
It's all hand embroidered, and it has a, a netting over the top. It's the way they used to preserve it. It was preserved at 50 years old. Now it's 100, so it that is probably going to come off. They no longer do that, but it's a beautifully made. The embroidery work is just absolutely amazing on it.
I agree. So then all of the animals and
The
things we
animals,
see
yeah,
were
the
hand
birds,
embroidered.
the fruit, all of that was all hand embroidered, and all of the stitching in between. And you'll notice how absolutely perfect it is
It
when she sewed
is
the blocks
perfect.
together. It's unique in that it's not, nowadays we put batting in between the top and the back. This has only a piece of fabric, which is the way they did it back then. It has a large piece of muslin back there. So it's a very thin quilt, but she was extra extravagant because she used a silk for the back.
I didn't know you could use silk on quilts.
She can.
Okay.
She finished it in, I believe it took her about 10 to 15 years to get it completely done.
Now, Anton, I know that you're an avid quilter. How did you get involved with quilting?
I joined a church that had a quilting group, and the director of the quilting group asked me to come and join, and I told her I had no idea how to quilt. She said, "But you know your way around a sewing machine," because I had tailored. And she said, "That's half the battle. The rest I can teach you." So, and I was absolutely hooked. That was 8 years ago, and I've been hooked ever since.
Okay, and I know that you play a significant part in the guild too.
We do. I head up. Me and Tom Johns do the block of the month, which is an educational program. We design one block that everybody does, and then we raffle at the when everybody brings their completed blocks in. We pick one name, and they get all the blocks, so they have basically a quilt ready to go at that point, and they can put it together. And some of them turn out pretty nice. I've seen a few of them in shows, so they really turn out really nicely.
Thank you so much for sharing this fabulous quilt and for all that you do in the guild.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right,
Appreciate
then.
it.
I was thrilled to run into the maker of the quilt that you see behind. And so I just want Sharon to tell me a little bit about what got you interested into quilting.
Well, I have some very good friends in my community that are quilters, and I used to sew. I never quilted, and I started quilting about 6 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah,
you mean you could come up with something so fantastic in only
and
6 years of
I take
hobby?
patterns and I make them my own. I add to them. So this is actually a Jacob's ladder
Okay.
pattern, but I've enhanced it with sashing, which is, of course, it's got to go away from me.
Okay.
Oh, wind's not helping. This is sashing in between the blocks.
Okay. And you said earlier that that took you about 25 hours to
Yes,
make.
absolutely.
Okay. What's your favorite part about quilting?
It's my happy place.
Okay.
When if I'm having a stressful day, I walk away, I sit at my machine and I quilt.
Okay.
Yep, I love it.
Now, one of the other things I know that I like about quilting is the community.
Yes.
And so I think you've already discovered that too.
And then my community introduced me to my guild, where
Yes.
now that I'm part of the guild, and you, you get so much help. If you have a question on with a problem you're having, there's always somebody there that can advise you and help you.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
now, who are you sharing your gift with now?
Well, I've got a new member in our community and she's learning, so we're kind of helping her.
Okay.
and
Well,
she's going to
see,
join our
and
guild.
I know that that's how it is with quilters. Somebody helped us, and so
Right.
then we reach out to help somebody else.
Right. Well, during season, we meet on Wednesdays and bring our machines to the hall, and we all work together and catch up on what's going on, and it's fun. It's a
Okay.
lot of
Well,
fun.
thank you so
You're
much.